week's Inclusive Agile Presents. My name is Dee Gray. My pronouns are they and them. I am going to be taking over for Carissa Peck today. Really super excited to announce our inaugural guest speaker here at Inclusive Agile. Um, so today we have Ashley Randolph from Glo Preemies, as well as a number of other really amazing things that you've been doing. So we are super excited to hear about your stories and what Glo Preemie is about. Um, so we'll dive into that in just a second. But what I really want to kind of put into this space right away is recognizing we're here to hear this story. We are here to listen to the story and understand your experience here. So absolutely, anyone that's following here, ask questions, get involved, but understand the questions are going to be about exploring the experience, not challenging it. So let's have a really, really good time. Should we do introductions, Brett?
Brief for us, long for Ashley.
Okay, perfect. So I think I did mine. Brett, why don't you do yours, and then we'll hand it over to Ashley.
I'm not willing to commit that you actually did yours other than just your name. Brett Barker. I'm our VP of Learning Development here at Inclusive Agile, and just thrilled to be here. Looking forward to hearing more from Ashley. I've enjoyed all of the time we've spent together so far. And yeah, that's me. Throw a title out, D.
Okay, I guess I should do that. I am one of the founders here at Inclusive Agile, as well as the VP of Inclusion. My thing here is I've been passionate about combining this work, inclusive and agility, inclusion and agility for years, and finally some people have decided that they think it's cool enough to try and do. And so far, they have only made my vision better. And so this space is one of those. I am so excited is going to end up running way better than I had ever imagined. So without further ado, Ashley, please introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of dig into your story.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Randolph. I am the president of Glo Preemies, the president and co-founder of the Alliance for Black NICU Families, the first Black and parent chair at CPQCC based at Stanford, as well as a national speaker, advocate, and a host of other things. And a 3-time preemie mom. That's the most important title.
3 times.
That's amazing.
That's okay. Well, I feel like we're going to hear about those experiences and why that's important. So dive in, talk to me, tell us what your experience was that that made you passionate about starting Glo Preemies and what they are.
Well, thank you. And first and foremost, thank you all for having me. My story is one that has been told by many different women with their own stories because it's so similar in so many different ways with so many other women, especially those of color. With my first pregnancy, I was a senior in college and states away from my family when I found out I was pregnant. And my school said that they do not have any family housing. So in the first trimester, I had to not only lose support from my family, but also move off campus where I have known for 4 years. So this was very scary for me. And it was in New Orleans, and it was 4 years after Katrina. So a lot of my time there, I helped rebuild homes there, and I got to know some of the community, but I still stayed on campus. And it was very hard when life had to change and I moved off. It got hard for me to be at school late and eat dinner on campus. And so, an actual high school student in the area I had moved to, she had recently had a child. And she seen me one day and she asked her grandmother to help me sign up for what was known as the food stamp program. And that's how it was interpreted to me. So I said, okay, I didn't even know that existed because my family was from well-to-do. My uncle was a millionaire at the time. And so I never had to worry about any assistance. This was the first time I even knew this was available. The first time I applied, they told me I had two options. I can drop out of school and feed my baby and myself, or I can stay in school and figure out how I will survive. I chose to stay out of school with 2 semesters left, even though I was studying for the MCAT with a goal to be a OBGYN. Months later, I took a blood draw at my doctor's office, and the doctor told me that they did not think that I should have my child, and I was 6 months pregnant, because they believed my child would have too many chromosomes. And if possible, if we can please show the first NICU picture of me holding Aiden now. So I decided to keep this little boy. Thank you for sharing this. Um, this is my little boy, Aiden. And at 6 months, the doctor told me I should not have him. He will have too many chromosomes and it would just be horrible and I would never be a doctor. There's no way I could do it. And so I decided I was going to keep him. Well, I ended up moving back to California, even without my family saying, come back home. I came back home and I had Aiden 2 weeks later. He was born at 34 weeks. He was premature. He was a late preemie. He does, as of now, he'll be 12 or he'll be 13 this year. Oh my goodness, time has flew by. He wears glasses.
Teenager.
He does have ADHD, which we just recently diagnosed a couple of months ago. It took this long. But as far as what the doctor said, none of that was even thought of when he was born. So this is Aiden. He got his braces 2 weeks ago. He do wear glasses. He is the top 2% statewide for testing. And he did skip a grade. And when he was younger, they asked him to skip another grade, and I chose not to. But that is the brilliant boy that they told me I should not have had. So that was in 2010. 2014, I moved to Houston. And my aunt had just lost her husband. And so I went to help her. And at this time, the same young lady who helped me in New Orleans had moved to Houston. And we ended up hanging out all the time. And her kid's father, he has a brother. His brother is now my husband. We met at this time and we fell in love. And in 2014, we had London. And everything was going fine the first few months until I noticed around 4 months that I was having really bad contractions. And this was just not right. So I was going to the doctor and she was just telling me, do bed rest. And at this time, I was suffering from hyperemesis gravidarum, which I did suffer with all 3 pregnancies, and I lost 30 pounds for. No medicine worked. This is the first time that I researched something for myself, and I advocated for myself. So at 4 months pregnant, I looked up and there was a progesterone shot that moms could take weekly that would help with preterm contractions and slow it down for at least a week. So I went to my doctor and she said, yes, this will be great for you. You marked off all the boxes. You're Black. You already had a preemie. This is perfect. Well, Medicaid told her no, they will not pay for it. And this was in Texas. So I told my boyfriend, which is now my husband, I said, I have to move back to California because this is the only way I'm going to get good health care. So I leave Texas. I come back here within that week. And within 2 weeks, I was getting the shot in California. No questions asked. I did leave California in 32 weeks to move back to Houston to have my child with her father in the room. And London did come out at 34 weeks. She was a late preemie again. And if you want, you can show the next NICU picture at this time. And that is little London. She did have issues with feeding when she was born. We just found out last year, she's now 8, that she does have something going on with her throat area. So she still has problems speaking loudly. But that's all that happened with her being a late-term preemie. I also never got any help with the doctor and educated on preterms babies. I was not educated on resources with the first or second pregnancy. I never got any help with getting a support group, and I did ask and how to attend one. It was just me figuring out the world on my own. Then a year later, I have the last preemie. And so I get pregnant again. And at this time, I'm suffering through postpartum depression, undiagnosed. And I didn't know at the time. And it was within a year of me having London, and I got pregnant again. And I just remember feeling defeated. And I said, there's no way I could bring another kid in here. And I said, you know what? I have to leave Texas and go back to California right now. So at 6 weeks, I left California with my 2 kids, left my husband back in Houston again, and said, I'm going home. I came home, got on Medi-Cal, was seeing a doctor, suffered hyperemesis gravidarium again, but I was still trying my best. And it was a struggle. At about 5 months pregnant, I walked into my doctor's office, and in the waiting room or the waiting area, the front desk tells me, I'm sorry, the doctor will not see you anymore. She sees you and your baby as a risk to her facility because of your hyperemesis gravidarium. So at this time, I'm not an advocate. Now, years later, my daughter, she's 7 now. I look back and I'm like, there was so many rules that was broken in that 2-minute time because you said what I had, you were telling everyone my business. And so that is Little London. And if you want to show the one with the lollipop.
Oh, almost. Ooh,
There we go.
Is this all London? There we go.
That is our sweet Jamie. So when I was pregnant with her, the doctor let me go in the middle of her waiting room or the waiting area. My apologies. And I was completely broken. I turned, I walked out. I tried to hold my head up high and not cry. And when I got home, I called Medi-Cal and I told them what happened. They tried to find a doctor who would take my case, as they called it, and no doctor would even touch it. So I ended up seeing an ultrasound tech until my daughter was delivered at 36 weeks. At about 32 weeks, I went into the emergency room because my water bag was leaking. But they said it was a miracle because my bag just kept remaking the fluid and they had no idea how. So she was supposed to come, but she didn't. At that time, they made me, well, they didn't make me. They asked me with the paper in front of me, did I want to have a tubal ligation when she was born? Now, remind you, I did not have a doctor at this time. So this is when I go into an ER visit because I'm complaining of my fluid bag leaking. So I signed the paper right then and there and say yes. They make me keep that paper on. They tell me, keep this in your purse. So when you deliver, you give it to them and they do it. Well, 36 weeks, Jamie came. She went to the NICU because she was still under 5 pounds. Obviously, I didn't have a doctor, and she was only getting weighed by an ultrasound. That's it, every week. And I went to surgery to have a tubal ligation. And she stayed in the NICU for 2 weeks. And between 2014 and 2015, the time of having London and Jamie, I started Glo Preemies. And I had to put it on hold when I had Jamie. But then afterwards, I picked it back up. And the reason why was because now looking back, I wanted just someone to talk to. And because now I have went through 3 instances of where Louisiana, Texas, and California has let me down, I still don't have any resources out of 3 states of where I should go for help and who I can talk to. So then I thought it was just for other moms to come together. But looking back, I think it was more for myself. I knew there was something missing. I knew that there was more I wanted to do. And I had to do something for myself and other moms. And that is how Glo Preemies got started.
Okay, I want there's a moment in there that you talked about that I don't know if I caught correctly, but you were multiple months pregnant, working with a doctor in California. You went in, and in the waiting room, she told you, you can't come here anymore because you will make our hospital look bad because you have this disease.
Yes.
So you have to go have your baby somewhere else.
Yes. And there was a room full of pregnant women waiting to be seen.
And I want to kind of like that right there. Every single one of those women recognized exactly what happened. And they left that doctor's office going, at any time, I can
They can be
lose.
let go.
I can lose this, right?
Yep.
So now their trust in that process drops significantly because they know it's more about making sure they have good numbers at this hospital and not good care.
Absolutely.
So
So much from that one little 2-minute conversation that it's like mind boggling. It tells you about everything, about the whole doctor office, everything.
that's infuriating. Like
Yeah,
there's no
very,
other
very
way.
upset. And I look
There's no
back
other
and
way
I
to
I
categorize.
laugh now because there's so many other ways that too little moment could have went. It could have went so many different directions, but I chose to keep my head up high and walk away. I didn't complain, but I didn't complain because I didn't know who to complain to. And so those are some of the things that I try to make sure that people are equipped with before they even go to the NICU, so that if anything happens and while you're giving birth or even before you get to labor and delivery, if we can reach you before then good. I know we're focused on the NICU, but there's so many ways that people really have to put all their efforts together to really control what is going on.
Mm. Uh, okay, so how do you get in contact with someone that is going to have a preemie baby, right? How do they find you? Um, and then tell me about like what that looks like for their first conversation with you.
Okay. So if you're a new NICU mom or dad, because we are family-centered care, all you have to do is there's two different ways. You can either visit our website at glopreemies.org, and on the website there is a tab that says NICU Families. You would click there and you're able to sign up to our program. We are the only nonprofit that stays with Black NICU families from NICU until the child turns 18. And we do take care of mom, dad, and the baby. So we send care boxes. We have mental health support. We have career support. We have a mobile NICU store. We have webinars. We have a K through 12 university for our kids, which we are now working with PBS with and using their education for. We have Glo Preemies TV, which is international in almost every country now. And I just looked at the stats yesterday, and I think in the last week we did 30,000 views. So we know people are watching it. So we have NICU educational videos on there, and we have African American stories, so stories about Black people and what we go through, and things for the kids are on there as well. So we're trying to reach people any way that we can, literally. We have a breast pump program with the Alliance for Black NICU Families, which I also am the co-founder and president of. And so with that, we have 264 breast pumps we had. We've already given out, I believe, 40 of them. And so we're working with 3 hospitals. So definitely have your NICU contact Glo Preemies or the Alliance for Black NICU Families. We will be happy to issue a wearable breast pump. Um, right now we have some from LV and they work wonderful, and they're for you to keep. Just have your NICU reach out to us. We truly just want to take care of every single family that walk in our door, because we never know if they had a 2-minute conversation like the one I had, and somebody needs to be able to be that trusting factor for them.
That's incredible. Okay, so as I understand it, and I am going to let Brett eventually ask some questions, but I am just um, overwhelmed a little bit with this
Yep.
story. And it's funny because it's the second time I've heard it, right? We've already kind of had this conversation, but some of those additional details that I caught this time, add more impact, right? And so, I talk to me a little bit about when you say support those families. You said, you know, care packages. Uh, what do you find ends up being one of the most valuable things for your clients as they're coming through, right? Is it those kind of later years and that support versus, you know, right after NICU? Where do you feel like most people actually need the most support that we may not be thinking about?
All the time. It's all the time. Because what you may have issues with now may not, I'm sorry, that's my daughter walking out, may not be issues that you have later on. So, one example that I'll always use is we do work with a hospital here close to where I live in Sacramento. And we have our own homeless program that we made with the hospital. So, these are things that we at Glo Preemies do. So, we will make a program specifically for your hospital. You just have to ask us and tell us what you need, and we will help you. So, with this homeless program, if they identify a NICU family who's in there and they are African American, we've had a few that were, I'm sorry, in the shelter. So, we actually paid for their first month rent to get into a place, and we pay their deposit as well. And then Glo Preemies, and this was with the hospital, so we split the cost. And then afterwards, Glo Preemies would help furnish the apartment, and we would help them, you know, whatever else they need for that first year. So if they need help with electricity and turning it on, we're that connection for them. So we work with other resources and organizations. We work with WIC. We work with insurance companies to make sure if you're having a hard time getting your bill paid, we will advocate on your behalf. If there's something that you need and you're having a fight for it, we will advocate on your behalf. So we, you know, what you need now, you may not need for 5 years. We always check in. The kids are always able to still be in our program. You may have a job today, and next year you got laid off, and now all of a sudden, oh, you're scared your rent's going to be due. You don't have a job. You need help with your resume. We have that for you. So the whole time, the whole entire 18 years is just as important.
I want to kind of capture all this and talk about these are all things that that you provide as it feels less like a nonprofit that's trying to solve a problem and more like a community that understands the problem exists and we're all here to fix it together. And it sounds really, really beautiful. Yes, we all run into those things, but we run into those things in intersectional ways, right? And knowing that they have this consistent community to reach out to that's all already invested in their own success for the simple reason of we know you had to deal with our healthcare system in a way that was probably slightly traumatic. And so we want to be there for you. That is super, super beautiful. And just, I, I love the connections you're creating there between some of your other nonprofits as well, the other things that you start up. So you can say, yes, this is our mission, but if someone really wants to do things over here, this has an opportunity for that.
Yep.
I love that
Yeah,
position.
no problem.
So, okay, I have two more questions, and I'm really going to give it to Brett.
Sure, you are. Sure.
But then I'll probably just start asking questions as soon as he asks one. But what? How do I get involved? Right? Hey, there it is. There's the question, just from our audience. What is the best way to support you and all that you're doing? How do we get involved? From money to time. What's the best way we can help?
So thank you for that. That's a great question. So I would definitely ask that everyone go to our website at glopreemies.org. On the front of it, if you scroll down, you will see a little video and it'll say Help NICU City. NICU City is something that we're building as an extension of what we already have. And so to have NICU City, we definitely need to raise money, and we do have the GoFundMe. Thank you for sharing that. We are asking for donations to that. That is where we will make the most impact. That is how we will be able to actually put our foot where our mouth is and make sure that something is done that people can actually see. And we want to make sure that these are doors that will always be open. So that is one thing. And then another way is you can always go to blacknicufamilies.org, which is for the Alliance, and you can donate for our breast pump program, which is always wonderful. And we want to make sure every mom has a quality breast pump.
Amazing.
And all that is connected on Glo Preemies as well. So just go to glopreemies.org. And if you go to NICU Families, you will see the breast pump program on there. And you can click there and it'll take you to the breast pump program site.
Are you geographically limited, right? Is this only in California? Is this for all of the states?
Yes. So we are international. So we are here throughout America and every state now. We are working with Nigeria. So we have 2 schools that we're working with in Nigeria, as well as 1 NICU that we're working with. And we are starting to do work and have connections in Europe. So that will be the next stop that we go to.
That's really amazing. Thank you. Okay, I promise I'm done. Brett has like a list of questions. There's like, my turn.
Yes, I do, and they're all the questions you just asked. So
did I really?
No, not all of them. You have cleared out a good chunk of my list, but that's okay. I've been writing more. So specifically, I want to stay focused with Glo Preemies, since that's what we're talking about. And then I would like to move into just some of the general things that you've experienced in your life, because honestly, I need to understand them better. I cannot even process the challenges that you've gone through and dealt with. So I want to talk about them some more. So specifically, first off, I am very curious about what long-term results you're seeing from this program, in the families that you're working with, and the individuals that are being supported in this, in the communities that you're working with. What are you seeing as the long term?
The long-term goal would be for one thing, mental health to go down, because mental health sometimes has to be connected with a stress level. And stress comes from either not having some type of support or something that you need. Could be food, it could be finances, it could be your child needs an IEP and you don't know how to ask for it. So long-term, because we have only tried this 3-step program model for 3 to 5 years now. So during this time, we have worked on some research programs with like CPQCC, racism in the NICU. And we have been making, for instance, we just created this badge that is on the Glo Preemies website. It's one of my proudest things I ever created, and it's for NICUs. It's a badge for the parents to wear in the NICU, and it makes them feel valuable. Why do I think something like that is important? Long term, if they feel valuable in the NICU, they'll feel valuable in the pediatrician office. They'll feel valuable when they're in the school system. They'll feel valuable all the way through. Then you'll have more parents involved in school things because they've already felt value from the very beginning. We always hear all the time, it's the first thing that when you look at someone, that's how you'll remember them by. It's the same thing for the NICU. When that person has a child, whatever experience they have can potentially set the path for all the way till the child is 18, not only for the child, but for the parents as well. And so long term, I can see mental health going down. I can see just a better world overall if everyone catches this on wildfire, because there is great people already out there who is doing collaboration, who is giving back, but it takes more than a handful of us. Glo Preemies is a big piece of it, but there's 100 pieces connected to us that help us become what we are. And we're grateful for all the support we have, and we hope we get more, because we would love to have this similar. I look at it as a globe, and where you see the gold McDonald arches, I want to see a Glo Preemies logo too. That impactful, and that is how you're going to make generational change. it's not going to take one. It is going to take everyone to work together. But I believe it can be done. We just have to actually do it, and everything will look better.
That is awesome. Yeah, the starting off, getting that support right at the beginning just changes the trajectory of an entire life,
Yeah. And then
not
your
just one
next
life.
preterm baby, you're going to be prepared because you got prepared the first time. So they're like me, I never had 3 baby showers. So I never had a baby shower at all. So if I was prepared the second time and someone like a doctor sat me down and said, hey, your chances of having this child at 34 weeks is very good. If you're going to have a baby shower or plan anything for your baby, have everything prepared at home. The time is now because, your chances, be realistic. We always say, 9 months, you'll make it to 9 months. But reality is everyone doesn't. And statistics are showing that there's more Black preterm babies being born the last few years than they have in the last 10 years. So something is not right because everything is still going up. We need to be going down. We're going the wrong way. So that is why I say, start from the beginning, the very first conversation. Make it your best conversation.
I love that.
It's so beautiful. Thank you. And I love, sorry, Brett, but I wanted to call out, it's not just preterm babies. In the US, it's our first time that we have a drop in all maternal health rate and maternal mortality rate. And that is, again, impacting people of color over at higher rates than others.
Yes.
So I did not know the NICU part. I knew the other thing, but I love that this community becomes available for these people, right? Where they see these statistics, they know the experiences they've had with the systems that are around them. It was just, I love it. Setting them up to just go, I can advocate for myself because someone helped me do it on day one. I love that you talked about the school system. That gives them the ability to go, I know how to walk into an administrator's office and say, hey, this is a thing that I need, right? And because that's not a skill that most people are used to because they were not welcome into those kinds of experiences, in the generations before them. Cool. Okay. Sorry. No question. I just wanted to comment. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, I need a remote mute button for you, Dee.
You do.
Great segue for me, though. I wanted to talk about education. Education is something that's very, very important to me. I was raised by an elementary school teacher. I had, great and terrible at the same time experiences in the education world. I would like to hear you talk about why you're putting in this effort for having that education program available, that long term, because I know that is a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Talk to us about why that's so important.
So I'm so happy you asked that. And no one ever asked me that question. So thank you for asking that. Right before I just left my last job and everything to give it all into Glo Preemies and the Alliance, I was working for a school system actually. And ironically, my mom said, hey, Ashley, you should go try to work where your kids are going to school. And I said, oh, no, Mom, I want to stay in a medical field because that's my plan was to always go back and be a doctor. Always my plan. I just wanted my kids to start going to school, get settled, and then I'll go back and finish. And so she was like, no, just go do it and see it. You may like it. So I did. At first, I worked front desk for the school. And so it was just me and the school receptionist. And so we were running an elementary school and a middle school. And I was going crazy. But I saw so many different aspects of what it takes to run a school. Then I found out some of my ancestry. And so there's a little school in LaGrange, Texas called Randolph High School. Now it's called the Randolph Community School. Ironically, that is my uncle's school. I'm sorry, you guys.
Oh, you're quite all right.
It was my uncle's
Need some
school.
water.
And yeah, I think I'm going to get something to drink real quick.
Okay, no worries at all. I do this. It's yeah. Um,
Thank you.
so you were just kind of taking us into yeah.
Uncle
I
Sorry, my
School.
started
brain. Yeah,
education.
yeah. Jumping in and doing the education and
Yeah.
figuring out how that works. So please keep going.
Yes. And so thank you guys. So I found out that he had this school way back when, and he was one of the first people to teach Black people in Texas general education, grade school education. And so I learned all about him, and I said, oh my gosh. So then I put those two together. And when I left the school system right before, I had been promoted to work in the special education department. Now, this is when Glo Preemies did their first research. And I found out that if you looked at nationwide, kids that were born in 2010 and 2016, when they're in school, almost in every single major city, the same number of Black preterm babies was almost the same for Black children suspended their first year of school.
Mm.
And so I saw that and I said, oh my gosh, I wonder if anyone else has seen this. So I had took that data and I started doing going to conferences and showing my data. And then shortly after, I got invited to work with CPQCC based at Stanford. And then I've been with them since 2017. But that research data was like a light bulb in my mind that said, okay, what resources do they have? And I looked, and a lot of resources stop either 0 to 3 or 0 to 5. Then you got to get another resource. You have to retrust them again, do the whole process over again, and then stay with them for however long they are with you for. And so I said, well, that's not okay. There should be someone in the middle that stays with you all the way through. So you don't have to do this over and over. Because not only is that if you forget something, oh my goodness, let's forget you forgot to tell them a big part of the story, but it's also rehashing trauma for the families over and over and over. So allowing someone else to take that trauma, even if it's a small piece of it, away from them and say, you know what, I know the story is hard for you. Let me tell the story. If I forget something or I mess up, please correct me. And let them finally be more of a listener and corrector than them just rehashing this trauma themselves and alone over and over. Part of the mental health part. Everything works together.
Absolutely does. Dee, I can tell you want to say something, so go for it. You're muted. I think
know.
the remote mute worked.
It did. It did. It was a great communication. Be like, yeah, you've contributed. Time to back away for a minute. So amazing feedback. So thank you. Actually, we just got a question that came in. I would love to just dive right into that. Brett, why don't you read it for us?
All right. This is from Angie Cully. So thank you for what you're doing. Always thank you for that. I have a child with IRP, and it's so hard to communicate with the school and district. They want to put a category sign on here and only help her maintain and not progress. What are some thoughts to help push teachers and districts to create or revise an IEP to get her the help that she needs? And how do we take the power back to make sure that they are pushing her to progress and not just float through each grade?
Oh my goodness, I love that question. So I'm going to give you a few tips, and feel free to email me afterwards. And not only me and myself, but I know my co-founder would absolutely love to jump in on this because she's a warrior in this area as well. We have sat in courtrooms for people before to make sure that they had an advocate. So we don't mind whatever you need. One tip I will say is to, if you can, go to any of the school council site meetings, if they have any. Sometimes the districts are the ones who have the final say. So definitely try to go there. Then get in contact with organizations like myself and ask us to help you in any way we can, whether it be calling the school or writing them a letter on your behalf, or even inviting them to a Zoom meeting, because it's easy for them to say it to a parent, but it's not so easy to them to say it to someone who actually knows what they should be doing. It's a different conversation. So, even just allowing them to know, say, hey, I really want to change my daughter's IEP. Is this something that we can do? If not, I hate to have to get an advocate agency to come and help me. Schools do not like that at all. They see that as a problem. Why? Because they never want anything at their school or district to go into the media. Not only the media, but agencies are very, very happy to protest on your behalf. We don't even have to share your story. We know what's going on. We need better IEPs for these kids. We need to do better. We need to make sure these kids are progressing. How are you going to allow us as the parents, which I'm speaking on your behalf, to know that our kids are progressing and not just being passed grade by grade? We need something on a piece of paper that says, okay, at the beginning of the year, they're here. And by the end of the year, they need to be here, just like every other student gets. That's why they have statewide testing. We need something similar for our kids in IEP, because they are just as smart as the others. That is why we have places like Inclusive right here, because everyone is together. Everyone has the same capability. And I love that you say that, because I actually am going through the same thing with my son's school, because he just recently got ADHD. So in the beginning, they were giving me a little hard issue with it, because they're like, oh, well, we know he's an honor kid, but he's having a hard time turning in his assignments, and he's having a hard time focusing. And I'm telling them, well, he's being diagnosed right now for ADHD. Well, we don't have that. So since we don't have that, we're going to have to just treat him, like everyone else, and, punish him and blah, blah, blah. Oh, it got really nasty. So I stopped fighting them. I started writing down interactions that I had with the school after I already let them know he was going to therapy and everything. And so now he has a therapist. His therapist has permission now to go up there and talk to the school without me even having to be there. Oh, they love that. They love that, because now I'm allowing the community to come in and help with Aiden. And the school doesn't like that, because they just want to keep it to themselves. And when they shine the light on one kid, that shine the lights on others. And they don't want to lose their funding. So absolutely keep track. Get in touch with an agency. It doesn't have to be ours. If you do want us to help you in some way, get in contact with me. I will connect Deb with us. It will, oh my goodness, you will be so happy you did. And also try to go to a school site council meeting to hear more of what the district is doing. If you haven't already, you may have, and see. Absolutely, undiagnosed ADHD is still ADHD. And so, we want to help you, because I know by working in special education department, these kids can learn just as much as anyone else. Only thing different is sometimes they need a different way of learning. And once you learn the way they learn, they're brilliant. Every child is brilliant. And so, yes, I'm glad that you asked that question, and never feel alone. Please never feel alone.
Oh, thank you so much for talking about the ADHD. Big ADHD kid here. Back in the day when it wasn't that common, and I went from special ed math to honors math back to special ed math in 3 years.
Yeah, that's what they just did to my son. So he was in regular math last year. This year he started honors math. Because they found him struggling, they decided that they were taking him out, putting him back in regular math. This was like 4 weeks ago, a month ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And they just wrote me an email and said, oh, we saw Aiden was struggling in math, and he do have a hard course load. So he has 6 out of 8 classes are honors, and math was one of them. And so he do have a heavy load. And so I fought them on it, but not too hard, because I said, okay, this will help him anyways. But I did still have that meeting with the principal and the teacher and the vice principal and Aiden's therapist. And Aiden's therapist and I made it very clear that you never change a kid's schedule without the parent or the child being involved. Not only that, you never take a child who is having something with them, like ADHD or mental health or anything like that, and change their schedule without explaining to them what is going on, because that can do more harm than good. So definitely always making sure that, we are a team, the school, we are a team, but you are also here for the best interests of your child and every other child in there, because they come first.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, you can't trust any other organization to put you first,
Nope.
which is unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a comment about trauma-informed care. I would love to hear just a little bit more of a explanation of what exactly trauma-informed care is for you, and if possible, what would be the first step people who have dealt with trauma can take to just start shifting that trajectory, to start thinking about maybe going down what the next step is.
Yeah, so trauma-informed care is so special to my heart for so many reasons, because when I think of a NICU family, every single family that goes through the NICU automatically has trauma. And I think that's the first part that everybody gets wrong. How do we identify what trauma they have? Or, well, first off, they're in the NICU, right? So have you ever seen someone come in the NICU and just say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I'm here. We're going to Disneyland tomorrow? No. And that does not matter what culture or what race they are in, whether they are educated on it or not. You still always go in with a feeling of, okay, what's going to happen today or tomorrow? And so just having trauma-informed care for every single person is very valuable. And so what I always tell people is, especially healthcare professionals, is always have your door open. Don't have them feeling like, we only meet at 9:00 in the morning when I do rounds, and that's it. If you can only meet them at 9:00 in the morning, then at least say, hey, when I meet you at 9 in the morning, my time is limited. I'm going to be honest with you. But to make sure that your voice is heard, please write down all your questions so that I can make sure I answer every single one of them for you. And you can do that every night, and I'll answer them every single day. That is how people can start having trauma-informed care in their own facilities. And the same way goes for families. Do not be afraid to ask a question. I always tell everyone there is never too many questions that you can ask, and there is never a wrong question. I don't care if you're asking which way do the diaper go on, because you don't want to be looked at in the wrong way anyway. So just ask, hey, I think the diaper goes on this way. Can you just confirm? And they say yes, okay, and then put it on, So there's always just do your best. As a parent, I know it's hard, and always do your best as a physician or a NICU staff, or even just an advocate. We are all human, but together we can make it all work.
Absolutely. I want to share something that I learned about trauma recently. Thank you to my therapist. I can get referrals for her to everyone if you'd like. One of the things that, shouldn't have been something I learned when I was 42. We've been talking about things that I've dealt with in my life and my childhood. And I keep saying to myself, I was not traumatized as a child. I had a fantastic family. My mother was wonderful. And it only sunk in just a few weeks ago that, no, I suffered trauma. I was hurt. I dealt with pain. Doesn't mean somebody inflicted it on me. I was still traumatized. And that was a huge, huge recognition for me. And that I think that what you were saying about they're in the NICU, they're traumatized. There is no way you end up in that situation without serious trauma.
Yeah.
You can't just pretend it doesn't exist or that there's an easy resolution to it or anything like that. So thank you so much. for talking about that.
You're welcome. Glad to do it here.
Thrilled to have you here. Okay, so we're getting close to our hour. I would love to hear a success story of somebody that has gone through the Glo Preemies system and how their life has been changed by it.
So I can tell you that we do have one specific mom. She is African American. She has our breast pump, which is wonderful for her. She's one of the first ones to get our breast pump. And with that, she has been able to get a job at home. Well, let me tell you, first thing is she was able to not get, this is probably not a good thing to say, but she was using another organization's breast pump. That, of course, it is used, but the cup and everything area was clean and, all new. And she always expressed how she hated going anywhere with that breast pump because 2 reasons. She never fit in and it was kind of big and she didn't like how it looked. And she always had these questions about, how clean is this really? And then she really saw a breast pump that she wanted. And so we had something similar. We sent it to her and she has it for free. So it's been about 2 years now. So not only do she, because this was the very, very first one we gave out, not only is she going out all the time now with her breast pump, she feels included. She's in our 3-step program, so she got the care boxes. She never had a baby shower like a lot of us. So the care boxes was something that she was looking forward to for the first year because it was something that was coming for her and the baby. And at the time when you first have a baby, usually everybody's given for the baby and they forget mom. So she was excited to get something for her and the dad. So her mental health was wonderful. She had hardly no anxiety or stress. She felt valuable because she got the care boxes. She's still using the breast pump because shortly after she had got pregnant again, so she had this quality breast pump that she got to use more than once. And she doesn't have to worry about returning it back and turning in more forms to keep this. It's a one-time deal. Once we give it to you, you keep it forever. So she loved that. It was something that was less off her plate. She was able to use the other organization for what their true mission is for, which is supplying them healthier foods. The foods that they weren't providing, such as like meat and things like that. She come to us. We have our mobile NICU store, which we use a point-based system for. And she was able to get groceries from our mobile NICU store so that she was still getting everything that she need, even though it was coming from 2 different ways. And by us working with the other organization, we were able to put up this game plan for her. So all she has to do is essentially is answer the phone because it was right during COVID time. Answer the phone for each meeting for Glo Preemies and the other organization, and she was set to go. So essentially, we made her life as simple as it can be, and she was still able to work from home while having 2 kids now. She has this great breast pump. She's able to go out when she feels like it, and she feels included, not only in the community, but she feels like she's a valuable woman, which is all we want every woman to feel.
That is fantastic. Now, I've never had a baby shower either, but we don't need to fix that for me. All right, so we've got, looks like another question just came in from Samantha. I am so sorry, I'm going to mess up this last name. Higginbotham Muranaka. I think I actually did decent there. How many families has your organization been able to help since its foundation? This is life-changing assistance. Thank you for what you give.
Thank you. So this is a question that I'll answer in 2 different ways. So the first one is we have helped over 3,500 families during our course of being here since 2014. So almost 10 years, doing very good. We do work with hospitals and their NICUs, and then we do work with other organizations. So there's multiple ways that we help. Now, the one part that we're still trying to get perfect is having families who are known to not follow through all the way, to stay in the program for 18 years. So there's a lot of follow-up calls. There is times where we won't hear from a family for like 6 to 8 months. And then they won't answer our phone calls or emails, just checking on them. And then they come back 8 months later and say, oh my gosh, the tire blown out and we have to get to work today. Can you help us? Well, of course, we're going to help you. Yes. But we also need to get you back into our system and updated. So we never take you out the system, but we do update their file at that time. And then we remind them of what resources they have available to them. Make sure the tire's fixed, get dad or whoever needs an Uber to wherever they need to go. And then make sure that we let them know, if you keep up with us, when things like this happen, you're able to have a better contact with us because you never know. You may have a new case manager when you come. Things do happen in life. We have new case managers. So you always want to have our updated information just as well as us having yours so that if we see your call, we call you right back. We know exactly who you are. We know your profile and everything. So when you say, my light bill's coming up and it's $300, okay, we already have your information. Let us call somebody to see if there's something that we can do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. I had a wonderful time talking with you. I'm going to turn it back to Dee to do a quick wrap up. And thanks everyone for joining us.
First, I want to say thank you to the audience, those of you that joined us. One, I know you could be doing anything with this time right now. There's 1,000 things that could be on your mind right now, and you spent that time with us. And that means a lot to us, So thank you for coming and joining and listening to this story. I wanted to hit that last thing you said, right? Sometimes they disappear and they come back and they say, will you still help me? That understanding that I can go away for a ton of different reasons. I feel like I don't need it anymore. I'm, well structured in my life. But knowing that I'm going to call you back and go, this is where I'm at right now. And you go, cool, we're here to help. It's probably not the only thing that we can help you with. Can we do anything else for you? At that point, they have that ownership to say, well, yeah, or no, I just need this right now. Here's my information. And maybe, we'll get back to it. Just knowing that thing is there makes everything different.
Yeah.
Right? It makes your entire way that you look at every day when you know if something terrible happens, it's not going to ruin the next 6 months.
Right.
We have a way to manage it. Or forever, right? I can't make it to work. I get fired, right? Those little things are so difficult to manage when you don't have a traditional support system.
Yeah, which is always changing, as we know, in 2023. So somebody has to be that support system for these families.
Awesome. I want to just have one more time to bring up your donation information. So tell us a little bit again about NICU City and how to donate to it.
Yes, thank you guys. So yes, you can donate at glopreemies.org, but we are asking for donations specifically to what we are creating, what is called NICU City. And it is basically our 3-step program, which is what we have from 0 to 18, actual and a physical location. And so we are trying to actually make our first one. And we do have a GoFundMe, and it is on the front of our website. Once we have that, we are able to actually show the impact that we can make. And once we can actually have our first pilot, we do want to make this available in every single state, at least one location. So this is just a point where we are taking a dream and making it to an official reality with doors always opening.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and spending some time with us. Thank you for everyone that joined us. This is Inclusive Agile. We are a nonprofit looking to improve the way of working for everybody, so everyone gets to have a psychologically safe workplace where they can feel vulnerable and therefore be more creative and therefore love the work they get to do. So thanks everybody. Thank you, Ashley, so much for this time that you spent with us. It's been absolutely just truly incredible and an honor.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you all. Thank you again.
Thank you. I can't wait till we chat again.
I know, me either. Thank you all.
Have a good day.
You
All
too.
right.